I spent a good part of my life trying to keep things from being difficult. As a matter of fact, I was so obsessed with trying to keep things from being hard and difficult that I made them even more difficult and complicated through my codependence, through my control addiction, and ultimately became an addict as well. It was this part of me that didn't want it to be hard. It didn't want it to be difficult. Well, life is complicated. Life is filled with challenges. What if we switched our mindset and started to recognize that those challenges actually are a place where we can lean into the strength of who we are and that we can overcome anything? What if we stopped being in resistance and started seeing the strength of who we are and stopped trying to control it and stepped into our authentic way of being that is learning and growing and shifting in these challenges? That's what we're going to talk about in the episode today. Enjoy. Welcome to the Recover Your Soul podcast, a spiritual path to a happy and healthy life. My name is Reverend Rachel Harrison. I started Recover Your Soul after having profound changes in my life from my recovery of alcoholism, codependency, and control addiction. I was guided to share the tools and principles of spirituality and soul recovery to help others transform their lives as mine was transformed. For us to overcome external circumstances, we need to turn the attention to ourselves, focusing on our inner change and healing. Positive results in our lives will follow. Welcome to the Recover Your Soul podcast and community. I'm Rev Rachel, and as always, I'm so honored and blessed to be here in your ear today in whatever form that is. Maybe I'm on a walk with you, or a run, or in the car, or while you're getting ready in the morning. I feel you out there. And what I love about being in this community is that we are all together. And when we sit on the once a month soul recovery support group over Zoom, and you see how many people are coming together just to support each other and work on our soul recovery, it's this reminder that this community is so much more than each of us listening alone. And for me, it's really helped me through some of the dark times that I've gone through. And lately, I've been thinking a lot about challenge. And I've been thinking about how life can feel really complex and overwhelming. And for me, I always thought that I was trying to get to a place where there wouldn't be any challenge or any difficulty or any hardship. And I recognize that that's not possible. It's taken me 55 years of my life to truly see that it isn't about getting to some place where we don't have to deal with anything hard. It's about having the strength and the skill set and the tenacity and the ability to be present in what's hard in ways that give us strength and peace and contentment through those difficult times. Because if I look back at history, there isn't any places where it wasn't hard. It's just been different levels of hard. It's been different kinds of hard. And I have to be totally honest and say that I did it again, where I did this thing where I have an expectation and a desire for something to be the thing that's going to fix or change or make something smoother or better. And then when it doesn't happen, I have this this disappointment isn't really the right word. It's more like this falling of my heart and a reminder that I can sit with discomfort, that this desire that I have for there to never be discomfort is unrealistic. And it's okay. Ultimately, one of the things that I hope that you get out of soul recovery is wherever you are and what's happening in your life and how you feel about it is all part of your process. So this is coming around because the last episodes have been around the birth of my grandson in California. He came on the 23rd of February, and I was out in California with Alex and his girlfriend for the birth. And I'm not going to go into all of those things, but what I recognize is that even with all this work that I'm doing on healing my codependency and really coming into my own and choosing a spiritual path for a happy and healthy life and leaning into spirituality and knowing that all is well and trusting and being in this place, I think that it is just human nature to want things to be the solution that's going to make everything smooth and okay. And yet, here's my awareness and my part of myself that's having these visualizations. And I hope that you get the stories the way that they work for me, because I need storyline. I need to have a visual of kind of what is going on within me, and then that helps me to process what's complex, all these complex feelings and complex emotions. Having come from a family that didn't have any conflict, that my mom was very even keel to the point where it impaired me from being able to recognize that you can have big emotions and that everything's going to be okay. Well, many of you came from a place where there was so much big emotion that you were wanting for that same thing, that same safety underneath. But whichever way we came from, whether it was flat or overextended, we're all looking for how to bring peace. How can I be more contented? How can everything feel safe? How can I literally be okay? That's what our nervous system is constantly trying to give us. How can I be okay? And yet, we are here in the Earth School situation, in our own curriculum of life, with all of our own wild ride to learn and to grow and to expand. And as much as I know that, and as much as my heart knows that, and as much as I'll even say everything that I have been through, every part of my own addiction, every part of my own intense codependent behaviors, every part of me that was in such despair for so long, can recognize that there was value in what those experiences were for me. And I've grown so much as a human being and as a spiritual being from them. Some part of me wishes it didn't have to be so hard. Some part of me wishes that it could just come from something that was easy and nice. I'm starting to have this awareness that that's actually an underneath belief system, just like I've been teaching you in the soul recovery process, about really looking underneath and asking yourself curiosity, asking yourself with gentleness, asking yourself with compassion, what is that piece that's underneath? And what's underneath is the part of me that feels like if everything is smooth and easy, if everything out there is okay, then I can be okay. Well, you've heard me say this a million times. I'm learning how to be okay even when they're not okay. And 90% of the time I'm doing that successfully, which is pretty amazing because it used to be 90% of the time I wasn't okay. But there's still this part that's unlayering, that is holding on tightly to this belief system that says, I don't even want the challenge. I don't even want to have to bump up against anything hard. I just want to stay small. Well, staying small is actually an aspect of our ego. It's an aspect of our fight or flight mechanism that is working to keep us safe. And this part is actually sometimes keeping us from stepping out into our bigness. Now, one of the reasons why this came up for me was the birth of Rocky was beautiful and hard, and it was beautiful and hard for my son and his girlfriend. And I recognized that there had been this little part of me, or maybe bigger part of me, if I'm totally honest, that hoped that having a child would be a step in the path that would really influence my son's healing. He has so much woundedness. He has a lot of things that he needs to work on, and I'm working on not being responsible for his stuff. But I love him. He's my kid. And I'm always trying to encourage you to look at this process of how do we show up for our family members who are in their own situation, and to not try to fix or change or see them as broken. I don't see my son as broken. I don't see him as not being able to have a life that feels good to him. What I see is that it's complex, and that his emotions and the things that he's been through and how his brain works are his situation, his journey, his earth school to handle. But it isn't easy to watch sometimes, because you can see him be really, really beautiful and excited and happy, and then you can see him be really scared. And in that year, he has behavior situations that have been rooted in from old ways of being, right? And I still have a part of me that just wishes I could fix that for him, that I could make that better for him. Well, as I step more fully into my soul recovery, more fully into my own healing, I recognize that his healing is what I want, not just for him, but for me, because I want it to soothe me. Then if he's okay, then I can be okay. But then I'm watching myself in my own life, and I recognized that I love challenge shows. I love competition challenge shows. I struggle a lot with watching television that is violent. As the more I get into my soul recovery journey, I can't watch high dramas. I have a really hard time watching violence. I have a really hard time watching shows where people are really in the mire of like being really mean and horrible to each other. And I just can't tolerate it as much anymore because my heart just has changed, and the way that I feel about every single person on the planet has changed. The way that I feel about myself has changed. And so I tend to lean towards shows that like Survivor, or right now we're watching these ones about adventure in New Zealand and Alaska. I like the show Alone. I like Project Runway. I'm watching a pottery show where they're making pottery and have a competition around pottery. I watch these shows that are around competition, but they're really around challenge. And I've been really intrigued by this lately because I recognize that we make a conscious decision in our lives to attend sports, to be in situations where we're in competition with other people. And that competition sometimes can bring out like the grittiest, most tenacious, most like incredibly rich and thick and powerful and strong aspects of ourselves as we're bumped up against these really difficult challenges. I know Alex, when he came out of rehab, he did one of those mud runs where, you know, you're crawling underneath the barbed wire and you're swinging across the ropes and you come out and you're totally muddy, but you did it, right? And then I watch these shows, especially these shows where people are really physically pushing themselves to the limit. They're getting very little sleep. They're hardly having anything to eat. They're pushing themselves physically, and they go through all of this intensity and almost to the breaking point, but then they have success and they make it, or maybe they didn't make it, or maybe they had to pull out, but they still have these beautiful things to say about what they learned about themselves, what they learned about another person, how it really pushed them and showed them how strong they are and how much more that they can be in their life. Are you ready to step into your soul recovery? Visit the website recoveryoursoul.net to learn more about the 9-step soul recovery process. I hope that you'll join us the first Monday of every month for the free soul recovery support group on Zoom, where we learn more about soul recovery and connect with each other. If you'd like to work directly with me to move through the 9-step soul recovery process, I'm here for you, but you can also choose to work the steps on your own with individual modules intended to support you to work at your own pace and on your own time. And if you want even more soul recovery, join us for the Recover Your Soul bonus podcast for Patreon members and Apple Podcast subscribers, where I interview amazing people sharing soul recovery tips for us and also do spiritual book studies. You can also find daily inspiration on Facebook and Instagram and join our private Facebook community. Visit the website for more information, links, and registration for everything. Back to the episode. And then I looked at our life and my son's life and your lives, and I had this overwhelming sense of just deep compassion for all of us that says we are constantly in our own challenge show. Our movie has an aspect of challenge to it that we are resistant to. And what if we stopped being resistant? What if we stopped pushing against it and saying, I wish it couldn't be like this. I don't want it to be like that. That's our suffering. Our suffering is saying, if it could just be different. But what if we switched our mindset and recognized that instead of it being a difficulty, that it's actually an opportunity for us to witness the capacity in which that we can hold, and that we see it as a challenge, that we can make it through these challenges and these competitions instead of it being a competition against somebody that somebody has to win. It's an opportunity for us to compete against ourselves, to see the best in ourselves, to push ourselves to think broader, to do more, to believe that we are more, to see that we can make it through difficult times, that when we're down and out and it's the It's the bottom. It feels like it's the bottom, that it's the opportunity for us to stand in our grit and truly step up. Now, one of these pieces for myself is to recognize that I put all my energy on wanting my family members to do that, or wanting my friends to do that, or wanting my clients to see it this way, or wanting the world to show up in a different way, when the opportunity is for us to recognize the only thing we're responsible for is us, for us and how we are seeing our lives. And it reminds me of the third step prayer in AA that I do as part of the ritual in the fourth step of soul recovery, which is open to co-creating with the higher power of your understanding. And I've talked about this in some other episodes because I feel like this third step prayer has so many aspects to it that are so beautiful and so powerful on a metaphysical standpoint. And again, the prayer is, God, I offer myself to you to build with me and do with me as you will. You know that for soul recovery, that has a lot of power in it. First, it's I'm offer myself to you. I'm coming willingly. In spirituality, they say that we have free will, that we are not in a situation where everything's preordained for us. It's just fate. Don't even worry about it. Whatever's going to happen has already been laid out. That is not what spirituality says. What spirituality says that there is a flow of the universe and of the way things are, but you, every single day, you choose whether you are in co-creation, and you have free will for it to be whatever it is for you. But when you step into a spiritual life, into spirit or higher power, universe being whatever that is for you, you're coming and you're saying, I recognize that my free will has part of this, but I want to build with you. I want to do this together. I want to recognize that it is not just me. It's not just me. So I come of my own free will so that we can build together, so I can have my full expansion of self. And I believe strongly, and the spiritual teachings that I listen to and are inspired by say the will of God, or whatever you call that higher power, is not for you to be subservient and small. It's for you to actually recognize how incredible you are, and how much more you can do than you even give yourself credit for. And when you start to look at, God, I offer myself to you to build with me and do with me as you will, you're saying, I come freely. I'm ready to listen. I'm ready to do this together so that I can be this full expression of self. And then the second line is, remove me of the bondage of self. This is so powerful because this is all those beliefs that we're not enough, that we can't do it. There's something wrong with us, that we're broken. There is nothing wrong with you. You are not broken. You may have woundedness, you may have parts of your life that have been traumatic and difficult, but this challenge that you are in, this challenge of life, that this incredible, precious opportunity to have this wild ride experience is something that you get to determine how it's going to be for you and how you choose to see it. Your life is what you think and feel and believe it is. The reality of you on the inside is what will be reflected on the outside. So when we get relieved from the bondage of self, we're asking the universe, we're asking spirit, we're asking our own higher selves to take away all that noise that's in our mind that is trying to convince us that we're not enough, so we can be this full expression. And then that brings me to the last line, which is, take away my difficulties. That victory over them can bear witness to those that I can help with your power and your love and your way of life. Now, this line for me, the first time I got sober, and for probably a good 5 years, and I would say this line, what I wanted it to mean was, make everything easy for me. I don't want any hardship. I don't want any challenge. I just want everything to go smoothly. I just want there to be a road that is perfectly flat and everything is given to me, because that would be easy for me. No one changes in easy. Nothing expansive happens without some level of challenge. We do not watch shows where they say, okay, well, you just get to have a beautiful day and there's going to be nothing to do and you don't have to have any strategic planning, or you don't have to push yourself. And as a matter of fact, you can have all the time in the world that you want to make whatever it is that they're supposed to make. And there's no challenge. We don't grow without challenge. But the line says, take away my difficulties. Take away the belief and resistance that I have in my own mind that believes that it is difficult. Hi, it's Rev Rachel, and I'm just taking a quick break to check in with you about the upcoming retreats and workshops in 2025. I know for me, part of my recovery was around meeting in groups and connecting on that deeper level. And so the opportunity for us to come together in retreats, either in person or virtually, helps us to remember that we are not doing it alone, to be able to learn about the 9-step soul recovery process in community, and to be with me personally to receive the teaching and to get that feedback and support one-on-one that is so impactful. I'm going to be having retreats both in Sacramento, California, and also in my neck of the woods in Colorado, and even a virtual retreat if you can't travel. Please check out the website, recoveryoursoul.net, to learn more, and I hope you'll join me this year. Together, we can do the work that will recover your soul. What if it's just a challenge? What if you could see that says, allow me to have strength in my challenges, so that could show others, that could bear witness to others of living a spiritual life, being fully integrated in a healthy self means that you can handle whatever's happening without all of the baggage, without all the woundedness, without all the blame and the suffering that you wish it was different. Oh, if it was only different, it was only different. Well, I'm looking at a new member of the family, and I'm looking at a child who I love so much, who has been the reason that I showed up to Al-Anon, but it turns out it wasn't for him, it was for me, because this is his opportunity to have challenge in life, and that my desire for it to be easier for him to not have to struggle, is unfair. He is entitled to his every experience and his every choice, as I am. And my desire for him to be something different and not have it as hard is actually more for me. That's the codependent nature. It's actually more for me, that some part of me says, I'll be safer, I'll be okay. But when I look at this incredible human being who is my son, and I think about everything that we've been through in the last 28 years, and I recognize somebody who's in his own earth school experience, and I release him completely with unconditional love to have the life in which he chooses, to have the mental capacity or the love or the joy or the happiness or the pain. What if I recognize that this is his challenge experience? And I stopped trying to get in the way of his challenge. And this is what I've done with Rich too. I recognize that he and I hope you enjoyed last week's episode, because it was really wonderful to sit down with him and have that conversation of us really talking about the changes that we've had in our marriage. But we had so many years of us having these conversations where when he was talking about the grit and the challenge in his life, I just wanted to fix it and make it better. I just wanted to show him a way to see it so that it didn't hurt him so much. Well, I'm negating his challenge. I'm negating the thing that he has to go through to grow and to learn. And I'm actually believing that I know better about what that learning should look like. So the more that I come into my own and I say, okay, Rachel, what is your life challenge? What are you stepping into so that you can be your fullest self? Well, I've got a lot of my own stuff to deal with. Why am I spending all my time and energy on everybody else's stuff when there's plenty of stuff for me to work on my own? I have my own childhood belief systems to uncover. I have my own karma. If you believe in karma, you know that I'm a foundational Buddhist, is my first religion that I grew up with. I have my own karma. I have my own soul's purpose. I believe in our souls coming back again and again. And as I always say, I want you to have your own spirituality. So Take what works for you and leave the rest. And I'm sharing with you my belief systems, but you don't have to take on mine. I believe that our souls are here in this particular body, in this particular experience, to grow and to learn and to have a higher consciousness and to remember that we are so, so loved and so brought here to be these extraordinary beings. And yet there's so much fear. It's the fear that has the resistance. It's the fear that says, I can't handle this challenge. Well, I think I'd love to watch, especially the adventure challenge shows so much, because you see people hit against a wall where they're terrified. They're hanging from a rope and they've got, this big backpack on that they have been on this long adventure. They've hardly eaten. They've hardly slept. And now, they've got to get to the top before the time runs out, or else they, lose the chance to, blah, 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 blah. And watching somebody else push through that extreme fear and all of the resistance they have and how they probably just want to give up, but they have grit. I'm so inspired by that. And I'm always just amazed at how when people come out the other side, there's just so much just beauty that's radiating out of them of how they see that they could handle it. And I want us to recognize that our soul recovery journey is around us seeing how much more capacity than that we have to be in our life as it is. And to recognize that each one of these situations that we've been through, joyous, painful, are all part of our own challenge. But when we start to co-create with spirit and you start to recognize that your life is what you think and feel and believe it is, and you stop trying to control everybody else, you step more fully into the part of you that is the power of who you are to be in your life, and to notice that every thought that you have has power. That when you think that your life is terrible, you're going to get more terrible. You're setting up what the challenge is for you. And when I thought that my family was crap and a horrendous, painful family, and even though there was so much love all the time, my nagging part of me was like, if it could just be different, if it could just be different, it could just be different. Well, now it's the same family, same husband, same kids. Some are more sober, some are less sober. I'm sober. I'm in my challenge. I'm determining what my challenge is on some level. And then sometimes life gives me a challenge. And instead of resisting it and being pissed and wishing it was something else, and why can't it be like this? And why can't it be easy? I'm leaning in a way that says, what am I going to do here? How can I show up with my greatest tools? How can I show up in my best soul recovered self that can handle whatever it is and be present and ask questions and attend to myself and notice really deeply how I feel? Speak with compassion and honesty and clarity. Notice when I should talk, when I should keep it in, and really allow myself to be completely immersed in the challenge. And then when I get through the challenge, to be proud of myself that I did it. That I'm working it. I'm actually working the steps. I'm having success. And that feels good. And so I encourage you to shift how you're looking at your life and notice that these challenges are not difficulties. And it's okay if you're going through something that is really, really hard, because you have more capacity to go through it with strength, with diligence, with a connection to something greater still, to feel the community of the soul recovery community around you. Surround yourself with your friends and those that are trusted, that can see this higher aspect of yourself, that don't fall into the pity party, that can lift you up. Those are the best teammates. And you see in those challenge shows where people have really good teammates and they have ones that can't really let the other people really thrive. We're here in this community to help each other thrive. How can you stand in the challenges of your life with a new way of seeing? How can you be the full expression of who you are? And lean into that third step prayer in AA, because it's saying you are connecting to something greater still that is always there for you. This is a spiritual path to a happy and healthy life. What is spirituality to you? The more that I recognize that I am surrounded by all of my team of spiritual beings around me, or spirit or God or whatever you want to call it, I have more wisdom that comes in, more intuition that comes in, more ability to be okay, even when the people in the world around me isn't okay. If you want help with this, if you're curious about the 9 steps, if you want to deepen this journey for yourself, continue to listen to the podcast. There's so much great stuff in the podcast. If you want more help, you can work with me directly and do coaching sessions and work the 9-step process with me directly, or you can do the steps on your own on the website. I have the first 4 steps up. I'm working on the rest of the steps, and it's really a beautiful way for you to connect more deeply with yourself, to use this 9-step soul recovery process to work through all of those old belief systems so that you are standing in your life with your greatest skill sets, that you're not coming from woundedness or from lack, that you're really standing in the strength of who you are, and you are not resisting challenge, but you are ready to take the challenge head on and see how you can learn and grow from it. And know that you have a team behind you, a team of spiritual beings, of friends and family who have your back, because you have your back, because you believe in yourself. That's the most important part. And lastly, I just want to thank you for being part of this community. You are what makes all this happen. So by being here every week, and by the coaching, and even by giving 5 stars or reviews through whatever platform you're listening to this, sharing it with friends and family, we're sharing soul recovery with the world. And the fact that I can do this full time is an absolute honor. It's an honor. And I hope that you are also taking advantage of the Friday bonus episode, either as a subscriber or even just listening to that episode each Friday for free on Patreon. I really want to support you in your soul recovery, because I believe in you. I believe in you, and I see you. And you can indeed handle any challenge that is coming into your life with incredible strength, because you are so much greater than you give yourself credit for. Until next time, namaste. Thank you for listening, and I hope that helps support your soul recovery process. Just a reminder that every Friday is the Recover Your Soul bonus podcast. This podcast is for Patreon members and Apple Podcast subscribers. And not only do you get an incredible interview or book study that comes with being part of that community, but your subscribing helps support this podcast and the Recover Your Soul community. If you want to listen to those bonus episodes but can't subscribe right now, do know that you can be a free Patreon member and have access for limited time to new episodes. Visit the website recoveryoursoul.net or check out the show links below for coupons and information for upcoming events. I thank you for sharing this podcast with your friends and family. I thank you for giving it 5 stars, and the reviews that are left bring tears to my eyes. I am honored to be part of your life. Together, we can do the work that will recover your soul. The Recover Your Soul podcast and its content is for educational purposes only and is not allied or representative of any organizations or religions. It's based on the opinions and experience of Reverend Rachel Harrison. Recover Your Soul claims no responsibility to any persons or entity for any liability, loss, damage, or cause alleged to be caused directly or indirectly as a result of its use. Applications or interpretations of the information represented herein. Take what you need and leave the rest.